Hello YouTube, I used to love the Madballs when I was growing up in the 80s, and I've collected back all the head popping figures since then, and I've decided to make a giant version of each of the heads. So I started with Slobulus, that was my first video, then I did Hornhead, and now I'm doing Skullface. So as you can see, I start with a basketball and I just coat that with a layer of PVA glue and then a layer of kitchen paper. And then I build this up. I do another layer of PVA glue with kitchen paper and then another one after that as well. Don't just use normal PVA glue, try and use wood flooring PVA or super PVA because it's just so much stronger. Right, with Skullface, he's one of the easier ones to do, I would say. So I just take some aluminium foil, crumple it up, and I'm just making these shapes for the kind of ridges around the eyes. You can see here there's just an indent on this side and one on the other side, and then obviously you've got to try and get it symmetrical on the one on the other side. But once you've got that on, then you can again start building up layers of kitchen paper and PVA over the top. So really quick, really cheap way of working. Here you go. So you can see on the eyes, I've coated that with the kitchen paper and PVA glue. It gives this nice kind of wrinkly texture as well, which I think is going to really add to it when it comes to the painting stages. Here you can see I've done the nose, which is almost like the shape of a sort of upside down pretzel or something like that. Again, just aluminium foil crumpled up. Right, for all the finer features and details, I decided to use Milliput. So things like the teeth, the ridges around the teeth, the eyeballs, all the wrinkles in the eye areas, and then this kind of ridge down the centre of his nose. So the actual eyeballs, I had an actual ball of standard Milliput and I literally just sawed it in half and stuck those two halves on to make the eyes. For the teeth, I made them all individually and I put them all on a sheet of aluminium foil to dry. If you haven't used Milliput before, it's a two-part putty. You mix the two parts together in equal amounts and it sets rock hard at room temperature in about 4 hours. All of the little bumps and things that you see on here I use Milliput for. Also this kind of skull fracture effect at the back of the skull. Almost everything is then coated again with another layer of kitchen paper and PVA. I just love this effect because once you coat something with the kitchen paper and PVA, you get all of those kind of wrinkles and things, and they all add to the overall texture of your whole kind of Madball. The only thing that I haven't coated at this stage is the teeth and the eyeballs. Okay, for the first painting stage, it's very tempting to just paint it in that sort of skull colour straight away. But I decided to paint the whole thing black because I've been painting all my other Madballs black first and then building up with dry brushing. And I want all of my Madballs heads to look really consistent with each other. I want them to look like a set at the end. You can see that the black kind of deadens the whole effect of looking at all the details, but that's okay because all of the details will come back with all the dry brushing. It is really quick to paint the whole head black, and also you get this kind of comfort knowing that the whole thing is coated with paint straight away. You can see then I've gone over the top with this mix of yellow ochre and a tiny bit of black. If you imagine me painting the whole thing this sort of yellow ochre colour first, can you imagine then trying to paint the black in between all of the teeth later on? It would be a complete nightmare. So painting the black first, especially on the mouth area, just means then when I dry brush the teeth, it'll just be on the outside of the teeth and it'll leave all the black between them. At this point I was really pleased with how it was looking, but I knew that it was going to be the next painting stage that was going to make all the difference. It's always the dry brushing with lighter colours that bring out all of the interesting textures and features. Okay, I took my yellow ochre colour and I added white in with it just to make a much paler version, and then I've dry brushed that over the whole thing, and you can see it's mainly like the teeth I wanted to be pretty solid. I actually didn't do dry brushing on the teeth, I just painted them straight on, but everything else is dry brushed, and you can see all of the wrinkled textures. You can see, like, for example, I want to say gums, but I know they're not gums, you know what I mean, the ridges around the teeth. You can see it's brought all of those out. If you haven't done dry brushing before, you basically just put some paint on your paintbrush. Try and use a paintbrush that's all kind of old and frayed, and then you just rub it on a bit of kitchen paper till it's almost dry, and then you just paint that over all of the high areas. Okay, here you can see I've gone back in with white on the teeth, just to really brighten those up and make them stand out even more. On the eyes, I've painted them red, and then I've put little black dots in for the pupils. I've been using System 3 acrylic paint to paint all of these Madballs figures, and I also use the same paint for pretty much every sculpt that I ever do. The benefits of it is it's kind of cheap paint to buy, but it's really kind of light, fast, really bright colours. The downside, I would say, is once you've painted a figure, if you were to kind of scrape that figure against a surface or something, the paint might scrape off. So it doesn't hold on particularly well. It's okay if you're making a figure and then putting it in a display or something is fine. Also with me, if I ever scratch any paint off, I can easily just paint it back on again. But what I like to do with these figures is paint another coat of PVA glue right at the end over the whole thing, which is what I've done here with this one and these other two. So they've all had a final coat of PVA glue, and that just protects all the paint and also makes the whole thing a lot stronger. So there you got Skullface, Slobulus and Hornhead. I want to make all 9 of the original kind of head popping figures as these sort of giant heads. So let me know in the comments which one you'd like me to make next. My wife was hoping that I would just make these 3 because they take up a lot of space, but I love the idea of all 9 as giant Madballs heads. Anyway, thanks to Milliput for sponsoring this channel. Hit subscribe to see anything that I post up in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.